welcome everyone to another exciting episode of our podcast here. Today we have a very special guest joining us, Mr. Gary Cardone. He is a renowned entrepreneur, investor, and expert in the world of cryptocurrencies and macroeconomics, which makes him a perfect guest on the show here. With his extensive experience and keen insights into the global financial system, Gary's made significant impact on both the blockchain and investment sectors. He's an investor in Node 40 and a partner at Cardone Ventures. He's been instrumental in the growth and success of numerous business and ventures throughout his life. We're truly honored to have him with us today to share his wisdom, discuss the future of crypto, and explore the ever-evolving global economic landscape. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming the one and only Gary Cardone to our show.
Thank you.
How are you doing there, Gary?
Good, doing well, thank you. Down
Great,
here
man.
in sunny St. Pete, Florida.
You can't beat it, right?
Can't complain too much.
Though I do believe in that area is probably the one of the lightning capitals of the world or something.
Yeah, that's right. The lightning capital of the world, I think.
Gotta watch out for that. So listen, man, you've forged this heck of a road to get where you are today. You've had this really kind of just amazing career so far. And so tell me, how does a young man fresh out of Lake Charles, Louisiana, go from an energy brokerage company in Houston during the 1980s to now being part of, having an investment in the leading analytics and financial information platform for cryptocurrencies today?
If someone would have told me when I was 20 this was going to be my path, it would have probably terrified me. I probably wouldn't have taken the journey. So one little step at a time is the way you get there in reality. When I left school, I didn't join a brokerage firm. It was actually a principal holder of risk. I've never actually worked for any company, and I think any experience I have has not been from the sidelines. It's actually been from an active player where you're putting your money to work. The first job was basically, it was natural gas clearinghouse down in Houston. I think I was the number 12 commercial employee. That company was, within 3 years, there were 600 people there. I started getting really nervous when that many people came. and then you get structure and HR and people start telling you what you got to wear to work and all that stuff. And I started going a little crazy, but I left a really well-renowned oil and gas company that I wasn't happy at. I knew that my personality didn't fit well at this company. It was a great job. I was making 70 grand a year, 25 years old, 26, and sought out this job at Natural Gas Clearinghouse because my instincts told me I really needed to be there. There were really smart people there that I respected. I didn't quite know why I wanted so badly to be there, but I would have literally taken the job for zero. And for me, that's a message to anybody in their 20s to 45, 50 years old. If you're like, your career is stagnated, you're finding yourself around technology and your industry is undergoing tremendous pressure, look out where there are platforms that allow you to be who you are and really flex your muscle in the way that I believe everyone has a special gift. But most people don't find the platform where they can. I mean, look at Michael Jordan, right? Awesome basketball player, didn't do so well in baseball. Now, I'm not demeaning him. I'm just saying the platform of basketball was better for him than baseball. And maybe if he'd have started in baseball, it would have been a different deal. Spent 17 years there at Natural Gas Clearinghouse. It would become a Fortune 30 company in less than 10 years. Back then, it was like we were building unicorns back then. We didn't even have a name for it. I mean, we didn't label it. But 12 guys, $30 billion corporation. Enron's up there. They're worth $70 billion at their peak. We built this on the back of nothing. I mean, literally through working with lobbyists and regulators in the United States to open the pipelines up. Back then, for those guys that don't remember this, but pipelines and grids that carry electricity were not open highways. They were closed highways only for those who either produced energy or consumed it. And people like us, after 30 or 40 years of all that infrastructure being in place, guys like us came to the market and said, look, these pipes have been paid for 8 million times over. Why don't we open them up like a tollway? And everyone, if it costs 3 cents to move a kilowatt of power or a decatherm of energy, then 3 cents should be available for everyone. And that really opened what I call the commoditization of energy, which I build the case that it is the most important resource and product that literally defines whether a country, a sovereign, is a first world, second world, third world nation. Now, if you could think with that and think also with where we're headed today, trying to digitize money, if you could commoditize, and let's think about this. What are we really doing when we commoditize natural gas? We're really digitizing a paper contract between you and I to deliver at the Henry Hub or the National Balancing Point in the United Kingdom, or now in Belgium or Germany, who is like on the back end of a monster demand problem.
Yeah. Really
a monster supply problem that we interrupted through an active war, in my opinion. Anybody else would have done that, we'd be at serious war today.
Exactly.
I'm talking about the pipelines, the Nord Stream pipelines that got blown up 5-6 months ago, which is a whole conversation in and of itself.
That is.
But if we were able to get a kilowatt of energy pulled away from the utilities and pulled away from the energy producers and commoditize that in a way that it trades in a half hour, I am really certain that all goods and services, and this was my construct for going into the payments industry when we built the disputes business, that has been an awesome business that I have since exited. But that business was based on, you cannot have refunds, chargebacks, disputes, all these broken transactions occurring on a pack of batteries. That does not happen in energy. Okay. In the United Kingdom, I spent 10 years there with the government reforming the way the pricing structures work between electricity and natural gas for all the players in the European sector. That market is flawless today. There is no force majeure. There is no, there was a hurricane and it knocked over my production. The lights went out somewhere. Like, you're showing up with kilowatts or you're showing up with money, one or the other. It is literally a flawless market. No one has any more power over another one. And so if you can do that to energy, I'm certain we can do it to all retail services and products. And we're seeing that today. We're seeing the commoditization of all goods and services.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because you have the internet, and the internet is like a big crystal bubble that everyone can see in on both sides, supply and demand. And if all the people in between that bubble, the card schemes, the banks, if they all allow us just to see what's going on, we will have an incredible market. The cool thing about energy, I think, is it removes all the opacity. By that opacity, I mean all the lack of transparency that a commodity market requires. And one thing I've really learned in life, and we probably went a little too deep too quick here, is that when there is opacity, when there is a lack of transparency, there is always something someone is trying to hide. Let's go back to Enron's Jeff Skillins and Ken. It's a black box.
Yep.
We get a premium. No, it's a black box because there's lies sitting in the black box. And so I think and this is the thing I'm really excited about blockchain and Bitcoin, is the transparency that is available through these tools really removes any indigenous player to have more power over another. And for me, that's a really healthy market where I am rewarded for my good choices, and I am not so well rewarded for my bad choices.
Yeah.
And there are, I don't get singled out. I also don't get grouped in to a problem when other people are having that problem. I can get rid of my risk exposure. So look, this is the world, it's about evolution, right? This is such a natural thing for our world to begin to really understand how these markets are all attached. I would have never thought starting in energy. I spent 20 years in energy, spent 17 years at one company. Good message for a lot of people. You do not have to own your own business to get really wealthy. There are some businesses I just can't own all of it. It's too big of a credit exposure. You got to have $3 or $4 billion to play in energy today.
Yeah.
That really is not okay. That I can't do that. Maybe I can play at the edges, but some of these other markets, the payments industry, allowed us to build a multi-$100 million business without any outside capital.
It's fantastic.
I mean, we built a fintech without any debt and without any other shareholders. Didn't have to go to Wall Street. We did it the old fashioned way. Get a customer, build a customer, keep the customer, make a profit on the customer, and keep the customer happy. I mean, this is 12 years now. So I believe that all businesses have to operate at a profit, and that you have to bring a valuable service or technology or product to the user. He has to think it's valuable and has to be priced accordingly. It's real simple at the end of the day.
Well, but aren't most things really? I mean, in life, they really are simple. We just tend to overcomplicate them, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with I think human beings just in general are kind of lazy. They like to get where they want to get as quickly and easily as possible. I don't think people are necessarily, evil toward one another. I don't think they're set out to hurt people for the most part.
Yeah.
But, just being lazy sometimes is going to hurt or shortchange other people as well. But, with all that going out there, again, as human beings, we tend to overcomplicate things. And so I come from an entrepreneur world. I come from a trading world, but especially when we look in trading, and then you look at something as seemingly complex as macroeconomics. There's a lot of moving parts, especially these days. I mean, you're just a bit older than me. And so you've been through this whole thing from, the Cold War up through now. And, you were around before, cell phones were a thing and the internet was a thing. And just seeing how things have changed, over this time here. But it really does seem like, again, even when it comes to macroeconomics, people tend to, I think, overcomplicate it. There are a lot of moving pieces and you have to pay attention to them. But, again, it's this idea that we take 30 things and we try to develop this one idea of what's going on rather than just kind of stepping back and going, okay, what's important here and where it goes, so kind of with that in mind, and, we've obviously got a lot going on with the macroeconomic side of things right now. We had COVID hit a few years back. And of course, we had the flush of money, not just from the US, but all over the world. And then now, of course, governments are like, whoa, we got to deal with that. So let's hike rates at this ridiculous pace before we even seen any, response from that. And so today, of course, we had the FOMC. They met today. Quarter basis point rate hike is expected, hinting at a possible pause coming in June. So we get through all this. And so then we have this narrative with Bitcoin. We have this narrative that's been about for the last year, probably now. It was all about digital gold, and now it seems to be inflation hedge, stuff like that. But how do you think that the growing acceptance, and adoption of crypto throughout the world is going to affect traditional financial institutions such as bank and payment services?
I think it's going to have less impact on finance and banking services than the crypto people. And I don't use this word very often, but for this particular answer, the crypto people have maybe overstepped their boundaries as far as what they actually are able to do. The concept of Bitcoin being a retail form of payment and displacing the US dollar, to me, is a gross misunderstanding of how this world works. Yeah. To your point about the macroeconomics, actually, to your point about people being lazy, I don't know about the lazy part, but I think what the response, I call the COVID-19 response. I don't think COVID-19 was an issue. I think the response that was done at a global, what appears to be a concerted, collective, collaborative effort, that some of us, including our country, I got people in the United Kingdom still can't come over here easily.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like nobody in America knows that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's part of the macroeconomic missing piece. We are not accessing actual data. We are fed a bunch of bullshit propaganda. And until you and I and our families and our friends stop paying for these services, I'm on Twitter Spaces. I was with Mark Yuska yesterday in North Carolina. I was at the Consensus Show in Austin last week. Look, we have to stop. I'm not sure that my vote counts anymore when I go to but I am certain when I cut CNN off, when I stop buying Spectrum cable, because it irritates me. Only one Spectrum provider in St. Pete. The service is horrible. The price is ridiculous. And what do I get for it? I get CNN, I get Fox, I get a bunch of talking heads. I cut it. I'm like, I'm not supporting you anymore. There are certain retailers. I don't support you anymore. I don't believe in, I don't like when Starbucks opened their toilets to everybody and their brother because they thought that was the humane thing to do. I stopped going there. Because for me, that is not a sustainable business model. I want to go to a nice, clean Starbucks, and the toilet is there for me as a paying customer if I want to use it. I don't want to have to bounce through a crackhead. And I'm like, let's do something to help these people. But it can't possibly be, we're going to start blocking people, allowing everyone to do whatever they want to do. It's like opening the Four Seasons Hotel to an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to I love the Four Seasons Hotel because what I get there, no matter where I'm at, it's pretty much the same thing. And it's awesome. So the macro piece, I think the problem with the macro piece is that most people are grossly uneducated about anything outside the United States.
Yeah.
And I hear this in the crypto world and the Bitcoin community a lot. Mostly from the protagonists, from the antagonists, the people that don't like this. Our government, some politicians, many of the bankers want to stop this. I think the hubris of their view that they can stop this, 12% and only 12% of the Bitcoin market is comprised of US citizens. There are 350 million people that own Bitcoin, and only less than 48 million of them are in the United States. So this is not a US product.
Right,
this is a global tool. It's a global technology. It does not require headquarters. It has no CEO. It has no Jesus. It has no God. Okay. And its centralization or decentralization theme or thesis is, what are these people talking about? I was with Yuska yesterday. I said, centralization is not the problem. The problem is, for instance, I grew up Catholic. They have a centralized authority called God. As long as God is running the centralized marketplace, the God that you and I trust, I think we're pretty okay. The problem is when, God appoints some delegate, Jack Welch, and Jack becomes the chairman of that centralized authority, or some other guy, right? And that's the problem. Centralization is not really the problem. It's who is running the bloody thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that we have to really understand that this is a global technology. It is not going away. And for the first time in my life, I am hearing people that are extremely wealthy, that have tremendous amount of ability to access any kind of freedom they want, talking about leaving this country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really like investigating what are my options.
And when you say leaving, you don't mean just like moving, you mean like renouncing US citizenship, right?
No, I don't know that it's total renouncement, but it's, hey, I need another option here, which I haven't heard in such volume. And now, I don't know, the request for exiting the US is at all-time high.
Yeah.
And okay, that's cool. But now I'm hearing billionaires say, hey, I think I'm going to go get a piece in Costa Rica or there are already a ton of people that have moved offshore to Puerto Rico's, the Cayman Islands of the world. Cayman's probably not relevant for the U.S. citizen, but in other areas that have extradition and tax treaties, different tax rules. Mm-hmm. I just think that many of the regulators don't really understand this is not a bank. This is a decentralized group of 300 million people. Nearly, in fact, it's larger than the United States because this 300 million people are all above the age of 18. These are not children.
Yeah.
These are investors in a space. You can say they're all wrong. You can say the price is not right. Warren Buffett can say the price. 300 million people established the price today is worth $28,000 or $29,000, right? That is a market.
Yes.
Okay. There are more people in the Bitcoin community that have established that price than the people have established the price of natural gas today.
There you go.
I mean, that's a fair thing. There's more people that have, I don't know how much volume IBM traded today, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't 300 million people trading IBM stock.
Right, right.
In fairness, 300 million people didn't trade Bitcoin today either. But that's a market. And I grew up in these markets.
Yeah.
4 people, 40 people, 400 people. I mean, determining the size of the prize, that's a market and you cannot deny it. That is why I say that the investing in the Bitcoin today is a safer investment today than it was when it was $200.
Yeah.
Risk reward, adjusted risk, it is a far easier assessment to make. And you can tell that we're close by all the naysayers' responses. I mean, they are going crazy. And I've done this now in 4 industries where I've been at a transformational pivot point for that industry. And you see the indigenous players, the incumbents, the legacy players that are undergoing this type of new pressure, whether it's price pressure, regulatory pressure, or technology. Those are the 3 things that disrupt legacies, incumbents. The horse and buggy got disrupted by what? A car.
Right, exactly.
Now, they didn't build the roads before they had the cars. They didn't build the seat belts before they had the cars.
Yep.
They didn't build the super tires that didn't deflate before. They didn't build any of the highways or the off-ramps. That all got built after the vehicle got built. And what are the farmers saying? Hey, I just need 3 more horses. No, dude, your horses are gone. They're going to be in the field. They're going to be eating hay. And this car thing's going to happen. And, it's going to be too dangerous. People are going to drive over bridges. They did. And then they built rails over the bridges. Yeah. And then we put seat belts in, like how many years later? 100 years later, we put seat belts in. So this thing about Bitcoin being the wild, wild west and it's all bad and evil, every industry on this planet has been built.
Well, it starts that way.
You don't build, the landing strip for the aircraft carrier, for the airplane. You build the airplane first, right?
Yeah.
And then you go, gotta land it. Gosh, didn't think that. So, this is a very normal evolution for a business that's going to do transformational work across the globe. And it's colliding with 3 or 4 other technologies all at the same time. And that is the unique thing here, that this planet's never been confronted with this, what I call the 4 tidal waves of change, hitting the entire planet all at one time.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. Same basic things I've been mentioning for a few years now, to anybody that'll listen. Again, we just kind of going through, everybody acts like, because you always have a bunch of new players who are new to being into industries, new to, they hit 18, they hit 20, whatever. They just get in, they have no real experience. And they're like, oh my gosh. But, when you've gone through, when you've seen it, again, it's just the same thing as you said, just repeating over and over. Every industry starts out the same way. Everything kind of goes into it. So what you said there, especially about cryptocurrency, U.S. involvement in it, in terms of the number of people being, just a small part of it, really. So with that in mind, again, turning toward macroeconomics here, what kind of role do you see that cryptocurrencies are going to play in the global economy, particularly in regards to inflation, interest rates, cross-border transactions, stuff like that? Because again, we are US centric because we're in the US, and, you know, let's face it, most Americans, most US residents think the world revolves around them. But as you know, again, there's a big world out there, a lot of people. So how do you kind of see all that?
Well, I want to really differentiate between cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. So I like the thesis on Bitcoin. I like a limited supply. I like an algorithm, and I like true decentralization. I don't think you can have 400 tokens out there, much less 20,000. What is a token? A token is it's like a debit note, right? It's like a note. I mean, it's not really you know, I have a gift card somewhere in here. That's a token is a gift card. I want to have the ability to transport money easily.
Yeah.
Now, I have some really. I was at Consensus last week. Met Anthony Scaramucci there and a bunch of other really interesting players, and I am really surprised. And Scaramucci's not one of them, by the way. I am really surprised how many professionals are attending these trade shows. And once you talk to them for 3 or 4 minutes, it's so obvious to me who actually has holding Bitcoin and who is just providing accounting services for Bitcoin people. It is still a staggering amount of professionals that have not bought this product.
Yeah.
When people ask me about how I got involved with Bitcoin, and I am a little bit of an odd cat. I do, you know, I acknowledge I'm a little strange. Only way I get interested, like I don't go to card games. I love playing cards. Happy to play cards with anybody, you know. I'll travel for a good poker game, not to get hurt, but just to have a good time. But I will not play penny poker.
Yeah.
Penny poker ends up with everybody playing every hand. I want to play $100, $500. I want to play poker where, hey, I don't want to bet on the 7 deuce again. Okay.
Right.
It's just too expensive to bet on the 7 deuce. So why do I share that? I first went and bought Bitcoin. I was buying gold. I bought $3 million worth of gold in 2016 at about $1,100. Bought some silver.
Great buy, man.
And I'm not sure it was actually. I'll argue that it was a horrible buy. Relative, I bought $500,000 worth of Bitcoin. I just didn't understand it.
Oh, okay. Relative to Bitcoin.
If I'd have done all of that at the same time,
yeah,
we might not even be talking here. Now, I did not buy that to sell it. I bought it to understand it. I didn't buy enough to get my attention. I put it down and I looked at my wife at the time and I said, hey, let's just keep building this business. And we built the business. I actually had a business that cost me, it's an awesome business, but it cost me a lot of money because I really should have dove in deeper earlier. I started getting bored about 3 years ago as our business was pretty much on autopilot. And I really did a deep dive into the white paper. I then invested more money into Bitcoin at a higher price and was even more comfortable with it. And I began adding and adding. As I added, I had to get into a multitude of banks because it was too much volume just to put in, like, you know, I mean, I'm not doing, you know, 2 Bitcoin. It's a significant position. In this past year, I went through a divorce and I had to start. I got margin calls on some of my positions because I went down like everybody else, 76%. And I get a margin call. I feel the margin. I don't blow out of my position ever. I'm not letting anybody blow me out. I'm going to step up. So I started, okay, I got all this gold. It's at $2,000 now. Try to move $2 million worth of gold back to Kitco, okay? A shit show. I could not believe how bad it was at Kitco. They would only let me send like 20 ounces a day.
What?
I had to insure it. So on 100 grand, I got $3,000 worth of insurance, maybe 1,000 something. That's a percentage. The shipping is okay. And hey, you can only send us 10 ounces. We wait 4 days. It takes 4 days to get there. Then they take 4 days to check that the very stuff they sent me is actually the stuff I sent them back and it's real gold. I have to do that. That's 2 months.
Jeez.
2 months to get rid of $2 million, roughly 2 months. I packed all that shit up in my damn car, drove down to a guy in Tampa. He gave me a better price because they're coins. I'm getting a premium. But it was a pain, man. Then I had to wait for a wire transfer for 3 days. Now, let's take another example. Same, twice the amount of money, $4 million. Saturday afternoon, June something last year, when Celsius was breaking apart, Galaxy was imploding, okay? This is the worst day in the history of crypto. 2:30 Saturday afternoon, I moved $3.5 million of digital assets, Bitcoin and Ether, from 5 banking institutions, 5 banks, of which most people had never heard of 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Took me 8 minutes. Took the receiver 2 minutes to confirm that he had received every bit of it. $12. Didn't get out of my chair and watch the football game.
Yeah.
2:30 on a Saturday afternoon. Okay. Moved $3.5 million from 5 institutions flawlessly, less than 10 minutes. The other person receives everything, doesn't have to wait for it. You can't reverse that. I can't file a refund on it. I can't get my money back. This is a big boy game. Yep. Now, when you do that, okay, and I encourage everyone just to do it, okay? Mm-hmm. Just go do it with $1. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You start to really understand how difficult the incumbent legacy financial system is. It is full of stops and blocks. And it's because there's too many people in the food chain. Yeah. There's so many vendors in the food chain, and it's all called security. It is full of security, so much security that it's stopping transactions and it's delaying good commerce. I just think that inefficiencies like this always go away. Okay, you cannot continue a world. People like me are going to come up with a solution that's better than that.
Exactly. Yep.
Better than Western Union. Okay. I wire funds to some lady in Africa, $100, and she ends up with $37. I mean, that's not okay.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a sustainable business. Not when you have transparency. Yeah. Once the transparency is there, see, people go, wow, $60 to move funds across the world. And what was that, by the way? It was already digitized. It just had Western Union's name on it. Yep. It's a digital deal. We're already digitized. This is the only difference is we're not using Bitcoin protocol. Yeah. Okay. And the central banks aren't going to use Bitcoin protocol. And I maintain the central banks will still not do what I was able to do that Saturday afternoon, which is transact on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you hit right on the head here. Me, when I first heard about Bitcoin was, 2010. And I was like, man, this sounds pretty cool. I even set up to mine it. And, life just got in the way, never got around to it. Kind of came across it again in 2017 when I was finishing up, when I was in the middle of law school, and kind of fell down that hole. I'd been trading, just currencies. I love the FX market. And then prior to that, of course, stocks, futures, stuff like that. And so, but the one of those things, other than it reminded me, oh yeah, this Bitcoin thing is exactly what you said there, the ease of transfer. I mean, it makes it so crazy that you can have, and maybe for some people, maybe their thoughts and dreams and their ambitions aren't high enough. So they're, they don't ever expect to have 10 million or $50 million or anything. But man, when you're getting up there, when you're getting up to, 500,000, $1 million, you're kind of going like that. And you're looking for ease of transfer, a way to carry that basically with you. It's so compelling as a reason there. But like you said there, you're talking about central banks coming up with their CBDCs. So what do you think? How do you think that's going to impact the future of decentralized cryptos and their role in the global economy?
Well, I have a little bit of a perverted view on this. I'm actually really excited that you have 106 now countries deploying CBDCs. Now, why do I think that's good? I sent my 75-year-old sister the other day $250 off my telephone to her telephone. And it was a test for me to see how long it would take her to figure it out without calling me how to get the money. Once she can figure that out, we have a marketplace that's going to just go absolutely ballistic, because most people don't really know anything about this product other than what Jim Cramer says. And it's all bullshit what he says. I mean, I don't think the guy's gotten a call right in I don't know how long.
It's looked bad lately. It's looked really bad.
But that's why you just clip the cables and don't even listen. I mean, I can go on Twitter space. I'm going to get better media from Twitter, for sure. More accurate media. I mean, it's going to have a bias too. But so my point is, once my sister has Bank of America Central Digital, maybe it's called Bank of America, maybe it's called U.S. government, but I'm gonna have 107 options. No, actually, I'm gonna have 109 BTC and Ether in my case. I don't participate in the other ones. I don't need to. I don't understand why you would go buy blah blah blah. I don't want to make anybody wrong, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
When my Bitcoin and Ether position becomes so massive and I need to go down to the sub tier, awesome. I'll let you know when my position's so big with Bitcoin. It's like, okay, I don't need any more of this. I want to go get some more juice. You know what happens to the pigs, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, pigs get fat and hogs get just
slaughtered,
absolutely slaughtered.
That's right.
And it happens every time. And I see a lot of young people really chasing unnecessary risk. But you just if your thesis is right, and my thesis is, gosh, if only 3% of the planet doesn't like having a draconian government control them, let's just call this 3% the anarchists of the world. 2.5% of the population is psychopathic, in my opinion. So just assume that there's 2.5% of us that are just crazy enough to say, I want to get away with a portion of my wealth over here in Bitcoin. That's the other thing. I think people hear, hey, we're just going to revolutionize the entire planet's financial system. And we're talking about a percentage of it.
Yeah.
Like, these worlds are going to live together. You're going to have incumbent finance and you're going to have new technology finance. I think Twitter is going to be a big player in this space because they look, smell, and act like a bank. I think Apple will be too. Google will be. Everyone's going to play in this game. And we can have a bunch of different tokens, but they're all going to be tied to something. I mean, I was listening to something last night. Every currency on this planet is tied to the US dollar.
Yeah.
It's so linked. Some of them are peg linked, like, government linked, but every currency is tied to the US dollar. And I think you're going to have assets that are also tied to Bitcoin. And I actually imagine, I look at everything in Bitcoin terms today. And I like that, coming from a commodity background. I have seen oil producers at $10 who said at 70 they could never ever drill at 40. $40 break, I cannot drill. You know what? At $10 and $11, they started figuring out how to frack. Now, that is technology, okay?
Yeah.
Why did the driller figure out how to do that? Because oil drillers do one thing. They drill holes in the ground, man. They don't care about the fucking price. That's what they do.
Yep.
And Bitcoin miners mine Bitcoin, and they're going to mine Bitcoin, and they're going to find the cheapest energy. This is the other, it's just a lie. Bitcoin will use the dirtiest energy on planet Earth, get rid of it, and convert it to a usable source of power. Okay, and by power, I mean the ability to buy and move the dirty energy, the dirtiest decommissioned nuclear power plants, decommissioned nuclear submarines, flared gas. You guys in Texas are flaring so much gas. 30% of all the fossil fuel on this planet is complete waste.
Yep.
It's just wasted. So imagine being able to contain that 30%. You're going to get rid of really dirty energy. I'm not one of these carbon believers that we're poisoning the planet. I just don't think that we're doing that much. I could be wrong, but I think we're getting better. And you're not going to solve the problem by one country saying I'm going green, but everybody else is building carbon.
Yep.
So it's a very complex problem. But if we got rid of the dirty energy and converted it to something that's useful, that seems to me a lot better than the idea of tapping into a hydro plant that is used for black starts. I'm not going to use hydro plants for Bitcoin mining. That's ridiculous. So you're not going to use nuclear power plants that do baseload. Like, the cool thing about mining is that, in Texas, when you guys have a surge, we'll turn off. We'll flip, man. Like, no problem. We'll be the option. Wind can't do that. Solar can't do that. I don't know many energies that can. Nat gas guys don't like doing it. They will do it, but they're going to price it accordingly.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't see Bitcoin using baseload energy supplies. They're going to use the stuff on the edges. And I think the benefactors of that, oil companies, they know how to resource better than anybody on the planet. They are going to be the miners. And I've felt this for nearly a decade. To me, it's and you're starting to see this. You're starting to see oil companies really look at this, take it very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense for them.
It makes them ESG. It makes them greener than the crap they're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't go build a Tesla car with solar.
Right.
That car was built with a lot of fossil fuel. It may use electricity, but the tires were built with fossil.
Yeah.
The plastic, everything inside that vehicle was built on the back of an oil barrel.
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah.
So unless we want to eat with, hell, I don't even know what you could eat with, but maybe wood sticks, the chopsticks. I'm pretty certain we're an oil economy for many, many, many years.
Yeah, I think so as well.
We just need to be more respectful. I would also maintain that the price of energy today is grossly undervalued, grossly. And my debate on that would be, let's do a survey of how many people turn their laptops or computers off at night when they went to bed. Zero.
I don't. Mine stays on.
That means energy is priced incorrectly. If your wife drives to the fucking grocery store for a pack of cigarettes, gasoline is too cheap.
Yeah.
Come on. And I see this all the time.
Yeah.
ACs are left at 72. We have to have a perfect environment. My television has to have an instant on. No computers are turned off. I got alarm systems. I got TVs that if you disconnected every TV in the United Kingdom, 72 million homes, 72 million people, not 72 million homes. If you disconnected the TVs at source, one 400 megawatt power station is not needed.
Wow. Wow.
It's staggering. Like, our convenience.
Just by unplugging them.
We're massive consumers.
We definitely are. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm myself, I'm one of them. I admit it.
Yeah. Well, but see, if the price changed.
Exactly. If the price changed.
That's the reason you're lazy, because you're like, it ain't worth it. Okay.
I don't have to, right.
If this was $20, I probably wouldn't drink it.
But it's not. So
probably not healthy for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, let's kind of just finally get down with this here. So, we've been talking about this whole kind of macroeconomic landscape and, how crypto's kind of fitting into there and maybe, where their place is. And, because there's just so much nonsense going in there, for anybody that spends any amount of time on crypto, Twitter, or other social media, it's always doomsday, or it's always these really pie in the sky kind of really fringe ideas, right? And everybody kind of comes in new and picks on them, jumps on them. But so as we look about the future here, right? So we've really come a long way, I'd say probably in the last 3 years, finally, really starting to kind of change here. So in your opinion, what are the key factors that are going to kind of drive that future growth and development of the crypto market? And, how do you think that those factors are going to shape, then again, that global economic landscape? Because, I think we're in agreement that they're here to stay, that they're going to keep pushing inroads throughout the world. So, what are those kind of factors that you see with that?
Well, if we go back to earlier conversation with the horse and buggy analogy, the roads weren't built. I think that's where we are with Bitcoin right now. The rails have not been built that allow for the regulators and the users to really be comfortable. Good. Like, why did I buy Node 40? I try not to turn these into a pitch deal for Node 40. Like, we're raising money and it's an awesome business. I have had a really good eye for moving into businesses and I know how to execute. It'll probably be the greatest investment I've ever made, in fact. And the reason that I say that is because 48 million people have a digital position, either an NFT, Bitcoin, Ether, or something like that. And less than about 986,000 people that pay taxes on that. Now, why is the government upset? Well, I just told you, 986,000 people have paid tax out of 48 million who own. Look, you guys, if you think this is a place where you're not going to pay taxes, I would beg you not to share your name with me, because I will tell them, okay, you need to get the fuck out of my market because you're messing it up. We have to pay the maker. Okay. You cannot, I grew up in Louisiana. Okay. Like, you learn the rules. You have to pay the guy, the king. Yep. And we need roads. We need hospitals. You can bitch about the government if you want. Leave. If you don't want to pay the taxes, leave. I don't like paying taxes and we blow up pipelines and kill people. I wish I was stronger to go, hey, I'm not going to pay my taxes. We need to vote with our wallet. Okay. How do I vote with my wallet? I stop playing with people I don't like. I stop voting on people I don't like. I start actually taking responsibility for the decisions I make. I start speaking out about what's right and wrong. I'm willing to be, I have an FTC investigation right now. I'm like, hey, I didn't do anything wrong and I'm going to fight you over it. Okay. You cannot just keep, when somebody gets successful, go beat them up because the payment industry doesn't work well.
Yeah.
And so I think we all have to stand up or decide we are going to become slaves. Secondly, for me to have an option to be able to pick up Bitcoin, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20% of my position, I'm not giving up the rest of my real estate holdings and my other businesses. I'm allocating a piece of my business into this new world. I would encourage everyone to do 1 or 2 or 3% into Bitcoin only. Be comfortable with losing it. I don't know anyone that can't do 1% of their net worth into a product very diligently, very consistently, like on a weekly basis, and look back in 10 years and you will see what happened.
Yeah.
Worst case is it goes to 0. If I'm right, and there are a lot of people a lot smarter than me that have come into this space. I look at indicators, Chris, like there is the largest exodus from Wall Street ever in Wall Street's history, leaving the old world and moving into what? AI.
Yep.
And digital assets and blockchain.
Yep.
It is an exodus like I've never seen before. Okay. And they're really bright people, and they all are particular personalities like mine that tend to do things in front of the masses. People that are, like, I've always been just a little risk. I like the risk. For me, it's a little bit of I like going into the unknown and shaping a marketplace.
Yeah.
I can't do that once it's formed. I'm not significant enough. My accent's not good enough. My school, I don't know the right peoples, but I can break into a market and help shape it and form it with, some guts and a little bit of money. I think it requires more guts and energy than it does money. So I think that we're on the precipice of having the tools. Node 40 brings these tools to place where I'm either going to supply them to the accounting firms or I'll supply it to the IRS, and it doesn't matter. You're gonna fill in the form.
Yeah.
And I think the Bitcoin community needs more education on what it can and cannot do. I like regulation. I would rather self-regulate. We are going to have more losses. We are going to have more Enrons show up and try to take advantage. if you know, I got hit with being in FTX. I didn't whine 1 minute. I know there's risk there. I have money at Binance. I have not removed the money at Binance. Why? Hey, I want these exchanges to work. Okay, you need these exchanges to work. Otherwise, I mean, I have a feeling that in the next 18 months, I'll have coins sitting at NASDAQ and ICE. And I never bought into, I bought Coinbase stock and then I let it go because I'm like, hey, I think NASDAQ's going to do this. Having said that, I have put more of my holdings with Coinbase because I want to support what they're doing on the lobbying front. And I would encourage everyone here, okay, I got it. You want a self-custody. I understand that. It's smart. Self-custody has a long way to go.
It does. It does.
It has to get a lot easier. And I'm not sure that you have a whole generation of people that are ready to self-custody. We have had 100 years of letting the bank take care of everything.
Yep.
So you're going to have to get over this. You know, I carry a lot of money with me. Like when I go travel, I carry 10 gold coins and I carry some US dollars and some sterling because I don't ever know where I'm going to end up. Why I have done that since I was 28 years old. I don't know why. I don't know why other people don't do it. They think I'm crazy. And I'm like, you know, this weighs 10 ounces.
Yeah. It's
sitting in my briefcase. I've got $10,000 in cash. It weighs about 2 ounces. It's not really, it may create a bulge in my pocket, which quite frankly, I probably need nowadays, but it's not like weighing me down.
Yeah.
Right. And then you think about a guy like me that likes to have that. Hey, what if my credit card breaks? Right. Like I'm in Amsterdam waiting for a cab. He don't want to see my freaking credit card, dude. At 2 a.m. He wants to see the big green Willie, right? Or the big pink notes. He don't want to see Bitcoin either. He really responds to the green. So that brings me to Bitcoin. Wow. Now for no weight, the weight of a USB, I can carry $1 or $1 billion.
Yep.
And I can do it with ease and freedom. I don't have anybody at TSA saying, hey, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I'm a gambler and how the hell am I supposed to win $50,000 in Vegas and bring it back, dude?
Better bring it back. That's right.
Okay. I was in London once, carried a bunch of, hey, what are you doing? I'm coming to gamble, man. Well, are you afraid you're going to lose it? This is the guy's question. I'm probably going to lose it, sir. And so, you know, like I'm not doing anything wrong. And let's be clear, okay? You want to commit a crime, do not do it on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If you want to smuggle heroin, you're going to use US dollars, okay? If you do prostitution, you're going to use US dollars. You're not going to use Bitcoin if you want to hide a heroin trade. It's not hideable.
Yep. I
have partners that are tracking you guys right now. So if you're doing it, you should really knock it off. The tracking is prolific. The tracking is so far ahead of anything we're able to do in US dollars. The problem is many of these firms didn't put financial context on this. They're just tracking the coins.
Yeah.
Authority actually went in and said, yeah, what's the financial imposition of these coins? Like, when did you buy it? What's the histogram on it? The histograms, people are putting positions on in crypto and they don't have a histogram. And by histogram, I mean, for you to you have kids?
Yes.
But one day you're hoping that if I'm right, Bitcoin will be worth a lot of money. You're going to transfer these to your kids one day. Probably you're going to be dead. And if they don't have a histogram of what you did over every year, what the cost base was for every one of those lots, how it got moved to them, you're going to probably move them from wallet to exchange, back into a wallet, back into their wallet. They're going to get raped by the draconian broke government that says, we have to build a highway and we're taking your shit because your dad didn't do the next step. He was smart and bought Bitcoin. He was dumb and he didn't spend $15,000 a year tracking it.
Yeah.
And the history part. This is not buying stock. It's
Yeah.
a very, very different asset.
Yeah, I agree completely. You know, again, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of paying taxes. And you know, the more income you get, you know, the less of a fan you become of paying taxes. But
The more
you know,
expenses you need,
what was that?
the more expenses you need.
That's right. That's right. Exactly right. But you know, at the end of the day, you do it because you don't want to go to jail or you don't want to go to prison. You may look good in prison orange, but you don't want to look good in prison orange, you know. And so
I am not going to look good in prison, aren't you?
but yeah, you know, and I hope a lot of people really, you know, they're watching here, kind of pay attention. I think it's one of the bigger things to take here, because there is still so much of it. You know, I talk to people all the time, and so many of them, they don't believe they're going to get caught, or they believe if they get caught, they'll just argue, oh, well, I didn't know I had to report it. And it's just like, you know, guys, you're just setting yourself up to get in so much trouble, and it's just not worth it.
But there's a little checkbox in your tax form now that says, do you own or do you not?
Exactly.
So if you say no and you do, that's a felony.
Yeah.
I think that's a felony. And if you do say yes, the accounting firm that you provide that data to, if it's a legitimate accounting firm, I'll tell you, first off, they will fuck it up. Okay. And so if you have an accounting firm, in fact, if you don't have an accounting firm or you have an accounting firm, you need to now, if you have more than 250 in a crypto, I would say probably 50,000 in a digital asset position, I would ask if they have a digital asset division. Yeah. Do you have an asset division? Like I was with Eisner Amner the other day. Eisner Amner digital division for taxes and accounting. This is a specialty. It is not, you're not going to hand this over to a 60-year-old accounting professional who's only done real estate. I know that because I've already tried it. It's a colossal failure. So the professionals around you, the lawyers and the accountants, the tax people, the forensic people, if you're going to get serious with this, you have to surround yourself with other, they're not necessarily expensive. They're just experts in the field. Do not go to a doctor for cancer that specializes in children. You would never do that. You would never hire a lawyer over a homicide that came from your company. You know, you'd go hire the best homicide lawyer. So if you're going to play in digital assets, you surround yourself with digital asset experts or get out of the game. I had a friend of mine who came, he wanted me to mentor him around a business, and he's got a great business, makes $7 million a year. And, hey, I'm going to take 20% of my time and focus on Bitcoin. He's walking out the door and went, hey, dude, don't do that. Okay. This industry is not a 20% energy play. This industry is, you have to get all in. If you're going to go really, you'll mess up your $7 million business looking at this. That's why I quit doing everything else. I mean, I've gone passive on all my other investments. I will not even look at an analog deal now, and I'm looking at new investments. I think this is a once in a century event. The likes that we're going to look back and go, oh my God, I had the opportunity to buy into Ford Motor Company for a penny, and I didn't. I had the ability to buy Amazon stock at $1, and I didn't. Is it going to be volatile? Anybody that talks about the volatility of Bitcoin without also saying that it is up 142% per year over 12 years, and has outstripped every other asset class in the world, don't talk to me about volatility unless you add the other piece, because that's like saying, hey, I went on a helicopter ride, but you don't tell them that it crashed. Okay. So, you know, you cannot leave out an extremely important piece of the information. I don't see people looking at their pension, okay, and going, ooh, IBM's off today, I should dump my pension. My thesis is that Bitcoin's worth minimally $250,000. Okay. And that's based on 3% of the population buying Bitcoin and a limited supply of 17 million. 4 is gone. And the average investment is $50,000. If you just look at the average inflow into Bitcoin's 50,000 over 300 million people, what's the value of that? Okay. And it doesn't grow. this is a great business. If I'm wrong and what if it's $500,000?
Yeah. What if it's just half that? Right.
Dude, my position is a lot bigger than $500,000. And I think you're going to look at, there are 43, I'm going to end with this because I got to pick my kids up. There's $43 trillion getting ready to be inherited in the next 10 years. Do you really think that they're going to go buy dollars, or let's see, a grocery store? Or, I mean, these kids are never going into banks.
Yeah.
I showed my kids 13 and 16 $1 million in cash in a big duffel bag. I didn't do it to like show them how cool dad was. I showed it to them so that they could tell their kids one day, wow, we don't know what dad was doing, dude, but we saw money. And those kids will never have seen money. This is going to be a memory, man.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you start thinking of it that way, you start looking into the future going, oh, of course we have to head that way. No one's carrying money in their pocket right now anyway. It's already digitized. Don't be confused. Yep. This is the next iteration of you being in control now of your digitized environment. You don't understand your vehicle. You get in it every day and drive at 70 miles an hour. You do not know what's running that freaking brain, do you? I don't.
Exactly.
I don't know anything about this bloody thing, dude. I tap on it all day long and do stuff. So you don't have to understand all the mechanics. I need to understand, hey, why is Fidelity spending so much time in this space? Fidelity, okay? BNY Mellon, okay? These are some of the oldest, biggest companies on the planet. Goldman Sachs has a division in the digital area. It's staggering how intellectually competent these people are. So you have too much resource, intellectual capital, and money flowing into an environment. And you got, a few crazy smart guys. Maybe I'm one of them, or we're just crazy enough to be, maybe right sometime, that are moving into this space and dedicating a tremendous amount of time. I think that has to result in something really powerful, as I do in rockets, what we're seeing going, as I do in AI, which is a little concerning. And we're having a technological moment here, and it's a big pivot point. So to not look at this would be, in my opinion, really an antiquated viewpoint.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, people still kind of getting in there early right now. But why would you ignore the opportunity to do it when it's sitting there right there in front of your face? I agree with you. I think this is one of those epoch moments, basically, in time. I just, we kind of get to this area here, and then boom, we just kind of just pop off higher, and then again, you've got, AI here, you've got digital currency.
I hope we go lower, by the way.
Oh yeah.
All the real holders, dude. We're all like, dude, I wish this would go to 15.
I don't know that you got that, man. I think bottom's in. I've been talking about it.
I think the bottom may be in too.
But if if it's not, I mean, that's a heck of an opportunity, right?
Well, my thesis is it's a 5-year plus hold. So every time I look at the price, I realize that I'm actually challenging my own thesis, and I should just not even look at it. Because I'm not
don't even look at it. Just come back.
If it goes to 12, I'm not selling. Yeah, I'm not selling it anyway. So, because the thesis is, okay, if it goes to 0, I was wrong.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't go to 0, it's going somewhere else. It is not going to hang at 28.
And I want to be on that ride.
Yeah. And just a reminder, right? Those oil drillers drilled holes at $10. They figured out how to make it work. It wasn't a great return. You can't do that with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how expensive this Bitcoin is. You can't mine more.
That's right.
And that is not true of gold.
That's
At
right.
$5,000, you're going to have so much gold show up. It'll be unbelievable. So gold can only do so much. It might go to 3,000. You're going to have a lot of production turn on at 3,000. Was not really economical at 2.
Yeah. And
hey, listen,
understand that.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go pick up my 2 little.
Yeah, man, this has been great.
Than Bitcoin.
Let me see here. So they can follow you there on Twitter at Gary Cardone, right?
Yeah, at Gary Cardone. Be very careful. There's a bunch of people trying to
Impersonate you.
Strip me and my brother's personality. It's at Gary Cardone. There's no blanks. I will never ask you for money. I will never ask you for Bitcoin. Like, get a picture of me, make sure somebody signed. Do not, there's a lot of guys right now trying to knock me off. So
it's pretty bad out there.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
this has been fantastic, man. I really appreciate you being on here. Love what you've shared there. Again, just this, again, this career, this long history you've had in these major industries, and now coming on with us here in crypto, man. It's fantastic.
Going to be a fun ride.
It will be. All right. Hey, listen.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. As always, guys, again, if you want to follow Mr. Cardone here, again, it's at Gary Cardone on Twitter. And man, he shows up at all these different events, consensus, stuff like that. So if you see him there, man, stop him and say hi.
Yeah.
tell him you've seen him.
I'll be at Bitcoin Miami 2 weeks from now. So that'll be a good show.
There you go, guys. You heard it. All right. So
Thanks,
that'll do it, guys.
Chris, thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care. Thank you, Gary.